my name is Mark Rossner, and I'm going to demonstrate Linux, in this case Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, installation on a UCS C-Series standalone server, installing onto a SAN LUN. This one is a manual installation, and we're going to use the KVM Virtual Console that we access from the SimC GUI, and we're going to install off virtual media. If all you did was follow this video, you may install just fine on a SAN LUN, but you might not be able to boot off the SAN LUN. There's slightly different issues. There's another video entitled Cisco C-Series Standalone SimC SAN boot configuration that shows the out-of-band configuration for Cisco VIC FCOE for being able to boot off of it. We typically do that one first so that we could do the install in this video and then reboot at the end of this install and then be able to boot correctly directly off of the SAN LUN. So here I am on the SimC web login screen. Going to log in as admin. And from the main screen, I'm just going to launch KVM console from here, which does require Java. It's launching Java Web Start. And here's the KVM on the server, which is currently powered off. I'm going to look at the virtual media and do activate virtual devices, which will enable the KVM virtual devices from this KVM session. What I'm going to be looking at is mapping the virtual CD-DVD to an ISO image on the machine that I'm running this web browser and Java Web Start KVM from. So I'm going to select an ISO file, in this case from Red Hat Server 7.2, and click Map Device. And now that'll be mapped as the virtual DVD. I don't even know if that's in my boot order, but when I power on the system, I'm going to use the F6 to fall into the boot menu. Okay. Now my system is powering on. After the power on self-tests, you can see I must have hit F6 because I'm getting a message that says after all of the BIOS messages, I will be entering the boot selection menu. When I get a BIOS message from the virtual interface card that shows the LUN from the promised storage array, you can see that the boot information is already set up. I may be able to install even if that boot information were not set up correctly for that LUN, but I wouldn't be able to boot. This is information about the local RAID controller, and I do have a local virtual drive, so I'll have to watch out that I don't install on that guy and I do install on the SAN LUN. Now my BIOS messages are completed, and I'm going to fall into the Red Hat install if I boot off of the KVM mapped virtual DVD. Notice that it's ready to boot off the promised LUN from SimC setup that we haven't shown in this video. But I'm just going to do the boot selection menu and boot off the KVM mapped virtual DVD off of the Red Hat 7 medium that I have mapped. I'm going to change one item in this boot menu since the default here will do the media test. So I'm just moving my arrow up one to the installation that doesn't test the media, which you'd really have to do if it's an ISO image. That's really just for physical media to make sure they haven't been corrupted. And I'm dropping right into the graphical install. So I'll pick my language. The things I'm going to be looking at here, notice local media as the installation source is confirmed. There's nothing I'm going to have to do there. But the other two things I'm going to look at are the software selection for install and installation destination. Make sure I'm going on the right disk. In the software selection, notice minimal install is the default. That's very minimal. You're going to want to change that. Let's go in there, change it to one of these other choices, and just show some customization. The real world, this could require a lot of thought. Okay. but I'm choosing to add some development tools and some other software to my server with GUI general choice, and pressing done, I'm done with the software selection. Then I'm going to go to the installation destination and choose which disk to install to. The only disk showing up here, notice this disk selected is not the SAN-LUN. This is the local RAID disk. The SAN-LUN will either just show up quickly. If not, there's one trick to get it to show up, which is to use this add a disk, and we're not going to do anything except say refresh list here and wait for that to finish. And then even if it doesn't show up on this screen, just click done and you will see that it showed up over here. Now that I see the local disk and the SAN-LUN, the thing to watch out for is that check mark. Make sure I'm unselecting the local disk and selecting only the LUN if I only want to install on the LUN in this example. And that's all I really need to do. The installation is starting, and meanwhile you can do some tasks like we're showing, choosing the root password and adding a non-root user while the installation is actually running. This is a little different from CentOS Red Hat 6, so you could do this at your leisure. Okay, you can see it says it's partitioning. The disk happens to be dev SDE, which is the SAN-LUN that I've chosen, and making the file systems. It'll start the package installation, and we'll kind of fast forward near the end of the 1322 packages in this example to where it's just about done with the package installation. Doing post-installation setup tasks. And it's all done. When I click reboot here, it will do an eject on the virtual media. So if I looked at the virtual media, it's not mapped anymore. Okay, and I'm rebooting again, and the boot order had me booting off that SAN-LUN. I saw that boot order in the boot selection before, and I'm just choosing the default boot off of Red Hat 7. And since I had chosen a graphical server, I can log in as my root user or non-root user and see a desktop in this example. Thank you for watching.